Hey everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to my cousins about how to grow a business. Mickey and Brian Kellerman, fellas, it's great to see you both. I'm going to give a quick background on you guys. You're co-founders of Kellerman Consulting. Mickey, you're the president. Brian, you're the chief food safety officer. You guys are a food safety consulting company that basically helps with regulations for clients and assures their clients basically food safety all the way around, right? I mean, and I'll let you guys kind of get into it. I know you've helped 500 plus clients in 45 states to write and implement and gain approval for their food safety programs and food safety certifications. So before we kind of dive deep into that, I do want to kind of rewind. I mean, you're in the food space. And food space, as of about March 15th of 2020, as we sit here November 23rd, has been hit really, 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 really hard. And so how did you have to, or did you have to pivot your business when COVID hit?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I will say it really was only part of the food industry that got hit really bad, as we found out. So restaurants obviously are going through a really hard time right now, and some of our business is helping with restaurants, although it's a minority of our business. Most of our business actually is working with manufacturing companies and storage and distribution companies, food packaging manufacturers, companies that are wholesaling and selling through distribution and also selling to grocery stores.
Yeah.
Now, I think everyone between March and let's say July, even the companies that were are manufacturing and wholesaling, everyone took a pause, I think, to try to see what was going on and whether. So like there wasn't a lot of new projects that were starting up in that period of time, and obviously that can be scary for any business when all of a sudden you stop getting new projects and you stop getting phone calls coming in. We've seen since July that it's picked back up for most of the food industry sector. As you can imagine, actually what happens is people started cooking more and people started buying more stuff from grocery stores when they stopped going to restaurants as much. Yeah. So if you're supplying grocery stores, actually some of those businesses have thrived in this environment.
Yeah.
So we've seen, so as far as like our business pivoting, we've been doing less restaurant work or almost no restaurant work anymore. However, I don't think the core part of our business really has stayed the same. And we do, two areas. One, as you mentioned, is the regulatory compliance. So it's helping companies get licensed and to meet the requirements of like FDA and USDA and state and local health departments. And then the other part is helping the same types of companies with higher level certifications that allow them to sell to bigger customers. So people who want to sell into Walmart, Costco, Trader Joe's, those real large national grocery stores, or sell through larger distribution that sells into those grocery stores, you have to get these higher level certifications. A common one that people may have heard of is called SQF. And we help these companies, we write the programs for them, we help them to implement them, and then we support them all the way through until they pass their audit and are able to then grow their businesses and sell into larger customers.
Yeah. So I love what you're talking about. I love that you started a business. I want to rewind, right? So I love that you guys are talking about, that your business is doing well, that you, that COVID, you have found a way to find your company's strength through it. But I want to kind of now rewind a couple years.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And really talk about, two brothers who want to start a company. Because I think there's a lot. I started a company with my brother, so I'm 48. Yep. I started a company with my brother when I was 23. We sold it when I was 25, and then we were done when we were 27 with it. But there is a lot of fun to start a business with family. Mm-hmm. And then there's the headaches of starting a business with family, right? I remember you used to say to my brother, like, stop talking to me like your younger brother when we're at company meetings, right. Yeah. So talk a little bit about kind of how you took this idea, which seems like such an intricate idea. You came together and you sprouted a business. And the reason I want you to speak on it is because right now I think there's a lot of new businesses starting. And I think we're going to see a lot of new businesses over the next, 5-10 years. Studies show that 85% of the jobs that exist in 2030 do not exist today. And we're going to start seeing so many things sprout up. And it takes a lot of courage to actually start a business. And so talk a little bit about, maybe Brian, you can kind of kick us off. How did the idea kind of come together, and how did you then, sprout it to what it began to be and what it is now today?
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, thank you. And obviously, I think that some of the things you pointed out, working with a brother, certainly applies to us. Although Mickey does not treat me like a younger brother. He's been pretty great about that. I would say, I would trace back Mickey and I working together really to, and something that we come back to all the time, really shared values. As brothers. Mickey was someone that I wanted to work with, and I had approached him years before we started a business. And I sort of said, hey, if we ever get a chance, we should do this. So that was very much a point in the past, long before it ever actually materialized. I happen to be in the food industry. I have a degree in agriculture, so working in food was important to me, and I found myself working at a food manufacturer as the quality assurance manager. And without belaboring how I got to be there, it was very much a happenstance, right place, right time. I worked my way up in a business and found myself running their food safety program and quality program. Mickey happened to start a new phase of his career, and he had identified consulting as an important path forward for him. I had been approached separately by someone else in the food industry to consider starting up a consulting business. And the stars really aligned for us, where it was both of us in an opportunity to take that big step forward. Mickey had started the process of seeing what consultation was going to be. And I brought to him a unique situation in which the food business was clearly changing. The food safety regulations had just changed, and this was back in 2016. So the FDA had just fully implemented a new law, which is the Food Safety Modernization Act. That had been passed in 2011, but they had sunrised it for 5 years. So by 2016, it was up and running. I had implemented it for my own company, and it was pretty clear that the company I was working for was ready for that. We had gotten proof of concept. The government had come in and looked at what I had done, and they said this was okay. So I came to Mickey and I said, man, this new regulation is up and running, and I know from being in industry that this is going to be something that other businesses are going to need help with. If we're going to do a consulting business, why can't we just go out there, hang a shingle, and help people who need help with this regulation? And that was really how it was born. It immediately, within the first month, which was probably, I would target January 2017 as really the first month we were fully up and running. We had started late 2016, but by January 2017, we were full speed ahead. The business began immediately to sort of organically shift, and different opportunities came up, and we were ready to wrap our arms around all of those. But that's how the business started. It was. I love
what you're talking about, Brian, because I just want to highlight a few points that I see. One, which is being in full alignment. When you're talking about it was aligned. And I think a lot of times people, for those listening now or later, it's so important to find a business where you are in alignment with it, because so many business is really hard and it's difficult and it can be grueling, but when it's in alignment, things seem to flow through, which make it a lot easier. And so I just want to kind of talk on that for a quick minute. So Mickey, when you and your brother come together, you realize that this is kind of in alignment, and I'm a big believer when you're in alignment, you can take action much faster. And then, like you said, Brian, organically the business just begins to come to you. When did you know it was a great idea that people would actually pay you guys for your consulting? Because a lot of businesses get created, but they don't know if people are going to actually buy their services, and then they fail because they didn't do the proper research before. So how did you guys, know that someone would actually buy this?
Well, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, to a certain extent, we had to take a leap of faith and take a risk, right? I don't think anyone who thinks they're going to start a business without taking some kind of risk is a little bit misguided, right? So we had a hypothesis and we did a bunch of market research. Brian obviously knew a lot from his job about the lay of the land. And so we built a hypothesis that people will need this service. And we believed in that enough that we said, we're going to take this risk. Now, one nice thing about consulting businesses is that the capital investment to start up a consulting business is going to be a lot less than, let's say, starting up a manufacturing business.
Right.
So we were able to self-fund the entire venture and at least give ourselves, let's say 6 months of trying it out before it was going to start to get a little dicey if our hypothesis wasn't correct.
Yeah.
And the first 3 months were pretty scary because we started marketing and promoting the business and we weren't getting calls. And so that all of a sudden now we had about 3 months left.
Right.
Before it was like, and I know we had a conversation like, are we going to have to go get jobs? Because, and we, the way that we were getting business was advertising online. And so I had a few thoughts on why is this not connecting? Why is this not clicking? So we made a few tweaks to our website. We made a few tweaks to our online advertising. And that was like done over a weekend. And the next week we started getting a bunch of calls.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I just want to comment. I think a lot of businesses fail. They have a great idea that people will buy. But I see this happen a lot is they don't invest enough in marketing, right? They're not spending enough time with their eyes on marketing, with, the small tweaks that need to be done. I mean, I'm a big believer, anytime, whatever your marketing plan is, double it. And then once you get to that point, double it. Because now, there's the average human being has a attention span less than a goldfish, which is 7 seconds. And so we're all in the business of grabbing people's attention. So when you guys look at marketing now, how do you look at marketing now differently? And how would you advise somebody who's starting a company to look at marketing as they enter and plan for their business?
Sure. Do you want to speak to that, Brian?
I'm going to jump in first, even though Mickey is really the expert on marketing. One of the things, even though it's not the main focus of my role in the company, one of the benefits we had early on in the company was our ability to fully understand and imagine exactly who we were marketing to. And that's the most important piece. You have to know who is going to be responding to that email, and you have to know exactly why. Because I had the role in a company before we started marketing, we knew exactly who we were aiming to. Mickey found the right tools, and so it helped us go through an organized process. But at the end of the day, we knew that we were going to be talking to quality assurance managers, vice presidents, presidents of companies. We were able to really identify what the message was going to be for each one of those roles. And everything has kind of exploded out from that initial realization. I'll let Mickey speak to what we've done recently and recent insights.
Yeah, one thing I was going to
comment one thing on that, Brian, real quickly. I think it's so spot on what you're talking about. I mean, messaging and how you talk to each of the different people that you're talking to, no differently than how you message things differently on Instagram than you do Facebook, than you do LinkedIn. I mean, and understanding that is so critical. And I'm glad you brought it up because most people don't think of it that way. They have one way and then they take it to the masses, and that's not effective.
I think understanding, this is like a basic sales and marketing concept, but it's, some people have a present pain, some people have a future pain, some people are buyers are going to be looking for, you're selling to present pleasure or future pleasure.
Yeah.
Our business is almost all present pain, which is honestly the easiest type of situation to market and sell to, right? So we already had a leg up to a certain extent because of the fact that we started a business that's selling to present pain. Then, of course, it's about communicating your value proposition and your brand to the market. And we struggled with that for the first probably 3 years, to the point where we decided it's like yes, I mean, we know a lot about marketing, but we're not the absolute experts at it. So, any business, when you don't have something that's your core competency, I mean, our core competency is food safety, being experts on food safety and quality. We're not experts on marketing. So we're like, we need to bring in outside help to help us to better communicate our value proposition and our brand. So we went through a whole process where we work with this really incredible copy editor and marketing consultant. Her name is Anna Hetzel, and she went out and she interviewed about 10 of our clients. I think the interviews were about 15 minutes, and asked them about their experience working with us. And through that process, we got this whole report about, hey, this is, here's what your clients are saying about you. Here's what you're doing well. Here's where maybe you have room for improvement. And we took that report, and that was the foundation for rebranding our company. We literally used what our clients said about us to revise how we communicated about ourselves and how we communicated about our process. And then through that, we redid our website, which we launched a few months ago. And I can tell you, I mean, the data, only a few months of data is, you could argue, well, we need more evidence than this. But I mean, the evidence so far would suggest that it's worked, what we did, because we're getting bigger opportunities. All of a sudden, so we did this because we wanted to get certain types of opportunities. And that has worked. So I implore anyone to, however much time you're spending on marketing, I would say you're not spending enough time on marketing.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to add, we did eventually find someone to work with that was wonderful. It took a few tries, to go out into the business space and find someone to help with marketing really is essentially like finding maybe like a caddy if you're a golfer. They're not going to hit the ball for you, but they can certainly help you identify the right tools to do it. In that case, a golf club or something like that.
Yeah.
We have such a niche industry that we are servicing. Mickey and I really knew intuitively that we were going to be the experts on our own marketing. We knew the industry. We knew, again, who we were talking to. And unfortunately, for some of the marketing consulting firms out there, they just have like a set process and they want to funnel you through it. And it took us a couple tries. We really worked at it. Some of it was, maybe some money that we spent that wasn't the most efficient or effective, but we kept at it. We kept trying. We knew what we wanted to convey. And once we found the right partner to bring in to help us, it really, we can see in short term and the medium term, and I think we're going to see it in the long term, just the kind of development and growth that we were hoping for.
Yeah. I think it's great what you guys are talking about. It's so important. And I just want to go back and talk about, because what's interesting is you have companies that will invest in themselves or companies that will try to just continually wing it, right? And so, and a lot of times companies will think, well, that's an expense that human resources can do, or somebody from this person has a couple extra hours a week, let them call the clients and kind of get the feedback. I'm a big fan of using third parties like Anna, I think her name was Anna, like Anna, and other companies that come in with the right questions, fresh perspective, the right lenses, and nothing clouding their judgment or taking away their time. And so talk a little bit about how you made the decision to actually invest in yourself, not only for the immediate term, but the long term? Because I think a lot of companies where it seems very intuitive to you, a lot of companies don't do it until it's too late, and then they got so much to clean up. You guys did it earlier in the process.
Yeah, so that all comes out of, Brian and I spend a lot of time doing strategic planning. We have pretty regularly scheduled strategic planning sessions. We have a living document of our strategic plan, and that's looking out to the next quarter, to the next year, to the next 3 years, and then longer than that. And when you have a plan, it makes a lot of those decisions a lot easier to make, because if you say, well, I have a growth goal, I'm not necessarily saying this is our growth goal, but let's say you want to double the size of your business in 3 years. Let's say that's your goal. Well, then you have to work backwards from there and say, well, how exactly are we going to be able to do that? And I mean, if you want to grow your business like that, I don't certainly know of a way to do it without reinvesting in your business, other than hoping for something lucky to happen, which I would not advise anyone to use that as a strategy for their business.
Yeah.
I think, part of what gave us a leg up is that what we actually do for businesses is to help them do some of the logistical planning and continuous improvement projects. And so, it's something that we offer to others, but we definitely do for ourselves. And so we have as a fundamental non-negotiable premise of our business that we have to get better. It was funny to me, really, I think almost before I started the business with Mickey, I watched someone bowl a 300 once. And I turned to the person I was next to and I said, God, if I ever did that, it would be terrible because I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I have to get up and I have to do a mediocre job every day because the next day has to be better. If I did something perfectly, then I wouldn't know what to do. In our business, we've never done anything perfectly, but we are striving every single day to get a little bit better. The strategic planning, the allocation of resources, the reinvestment is all part of the process of doing it a little bit better. The joke that I've always made real quick, sorry, when we started the business, I always said Mickey and I were playing 2-on-2 basketball. Sorry to keep using sports analogies here, but we were playing 2-on-2 and Mickey would come to me and say that we're going to get our clock clean. Someone's going to come around doing what we're doing and they're going to be so much better. They're going to be the best. And the competitive drive to get better, to prepare ourselves for the fact that someone was just going to come and eat our lunch, made us so much better so quickly. And those people, whether they are there or not, we don't know. But certainly we got better. We added more. We grew. We've developed. We brought in more people. And, as we continue to get better, it's harder and harder to see who's going to be competing with us.
Yeah. I love what you're talking about. I mean, you mentioned earlier your value prop and all the things that differentiate you, but I'm a big believer that the passion of an owner's business also drives so much business and confidence in people. But what is the one thing that differentiates you from other people who do what you do?
Do you want to speak to that, Brian?
Sure. One of the things that worked in our favor. And I learned this before starting this business, and I learned this working as a QA manager. I was willing and able to do every single job that I was overseeing. So if I needed to step in and help people physically do tasks, I could do that. In the quality assurance world, that's a real challenge because you're not allowed to oversee your own work. So there has to be that barrier. But once we started this company, I mean, there was no project that I wouldn't personally get involved in. We developed our own documentation in our own program. I think that differentiated us a lot. One of the things that allowed us to grow was that we realized as an insight that we could do this job remotely, that we didn't. A lot of the people who do what we do, their idea was, I need to implant myself into someone else's business for a long period of time. Our insight quickly was, no, I can write this remotely And I just need to have a communication process with our clients where I can send these documents to them, follow up with them as much as possible and as much as necessary so that they understood what we sent them and that we were there to support them. That sped up our growth process so much more than what some of our competition was doing. And then secondly, when we brought new employees in, my background before being a QA manager, even though agriculture was a big part of it, I also was a teacher. And I think that ended up playing a big role in being able to help new employees, people who hadn't had necessarily the experience I had, understand what we were doing. And we quickly developed a team to work with that showed, tremendous growth. And it allows us to take on a lot more projects and do a great job without sacrificing quality.
I'm going to add one more thing real quick, John. So this goes back to a previous comment that was made. So the very first thing that Brian and I did before we ever started advertising our business, this is when we were doing the initial planning, was we sat down and we spent a lot of time coming up with our core values for our business. Now, anyone can come up with core values of their business, but what we do on a daily basis is we check in with ourselves to make sure we're actually living those core values. That wasn't something that we took lightly, and it's not something that we take lightly now. If you don't have alignment in your organization with your core values, it makes it very difficult to grow and to be successful. And as an example, I'm not going to go through all of our core values right now, but two of them, one is responsiveness and another one is getting results. Those are two cornerstones of our business. Now, you wouldn't think necessarily that responsiveness would be super important, but I can tell you that it is. And what I mean by that is if someone contacts us, we get back in touch with them within 24 hours. I mean, are we 100% perfect on that? Maybe not, but I bet we're close to 99% perfect on it. And that is something, at least from my experience dealing with service providers and being out in the business world, it's kind of rare to find companies that set that as a core value. So to me, that ended up being a differentiator for us, which is that we will get back in touch with you in a timely manner and no matter what.
Call them back.
It's amazing how many people don't call people back.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. I also have a policy. I return every call, text, email, same day. And so that's the only way to do it. I can't go to sleep unless I do. But it is amazing. It is amazing how I would say probably 80-90% of people have horrible follow-up. It's great. All right, guys, you ready for a quick speed round?
Absolutely.
Sure.
All right. This question goes to each of you. What's one thing you learned about each other since you started the business?
Okay, well, I'll go first. I always admired Brian, but through working with him in this business, I realized that he is a true superstar. Really, when it comes to food safety, he is a foremost expert in this country as far as I'm concerned at this stuff. And but not only does he have the knowledge, he also is a very compassionate person and he cares about people. And I think the thing that he enjoys the most is really helping our clients. And the way he's able to communicate some really difficult concepts in a way that people understand. That is really one of the secret sauces of our business.
I thought there was a dividing line between friendship and family, and Mickey and I have always been close, but the growth of our friendship through this business was the thing that I learned most about him. What a great friend he is, on top of the business partnership and the family relationship.
Right. I love it. I love the love. Favorite book and why?
Oh man, Brian, you're gonna take that one first.
All right. I have read a book this year called The Wuzhen Payan, which translates to Understanding Reality. It's a Taoist text couple thousand years old. I didn't realize that there was a sort of an instruction manual on how to control oneself, and it's helped me sort of remove a lot of my unhealthy habits and replace them with really healthy, positive growth.
What is it called again?
It is called Understanding Reality. The author is, it's an ancient Chinese book, guy named Champo Teng, but in America, there's a Harvard professor named Thomas Cleary who has a translation of it. And that goes by Understanding Reality. But the original Chinese is Wu Zhen Paiyan.
Okay. Wow, it sounds intense.
Very intense, but incredible. Really incredible.
Is it an easy read?
It is not an easy read. In fact, it's a very difficult read.
I mean, it sounds like a difficult read.
It's coded, so it's like got a lot of images, and it's really kind of like a self-help map, if you will. But if you reading it carefully and following what it says to do, I have found it to be really wonderful.
All right, good. I love it. Thanks, Brian. Mickey, how about you?
I don't have a great answer for this. I have to admit, as an adult, I haven't read a lot of books. So I'm gonna have to go. What'd you say?
Article, TED Talk.
Well, no, I have one. I have one.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's one that I read. It's one that I read a long time ago, and the author's he's a little bit problematic, but that's okay. So David Foster Wallace wrote a supposedly funny thing I'll never do again. It was a collection of his essays. I think it was the first collection of essays that he put out, and I've read that book probably 4 or 5 times at this point. It really, as far as postmodern writing goes, it's the book that connected the most with me. Now, I haven't read it in a long time, and I don't know if it would still connect with me in the same way that it did back then, but it really made a huge impression on me at the time.
All right, good. I love it. All right, one piece of advice you would give somebody graduating college today?
Ooh, wow. Well, so all I can tell you is, I guess what I would tell someone is be open-minded, and just get out there and start actually working and getting experiences, and don't be so fixated necessarily on the first job that you have being like make or break.
Yeah.
I think most people have the journeys that they take in their business careers go in different ways than they would ever imagine. That's what happened to me. I think that's probably what happened to Brian. And it was really the experiences I got in some of the early jobs I had. I mean, my first job out of school was working for a bank. I never thought that was where I was going to end up being. And, but I still learned some extremely valuable lessons at that job that I still, helped me to be the business person that I am today.
Right. Brian, how about you?
Well, I think that for someone graduating from college, I would say on the one hand, you have to maintain your integrity and your decency in whatever you do, but balancing that, you have to take it. Whatever you want, you need to take it for yourself. Nobody is going to give it to you. You just you cannot wait. Everyone goes into a job or goes into a situation hoping that someone's just going to bequeath them or show them the way. It doesn't work that way. And your supervisor, your boss, they're not going to do it. You have to step up for yourself, or it's never going to happen.
Amen to that. And all right, fellas, tell people who your ideal clients are and how they can get a hold of you.
Sure, absolutely. So our ideal clients are really any business in the food supply chain that needs help to really grow their business by putting in place certification programs that will allow them to sell into bigger customers. The way that they can get in touch with us is either going to our website, which is kellermanconsulting.com, and then on our website, we have an 800 number, or they can reach out to us at info@kellermanconsulting.com.
Great. Guys, it was a pleasure interviewing you guys. I'm very, happy for your success and your really fast growth. I mean, in the scheme of businesses, how quickly you guys have grown. I'm not surprised on any level, especially the way you articulated today, all of the fundamental things that you not only did, but continue to do on a daily basis. But really, the most impressive part is that you've been in business a few years, your brothers, your family, and you're still going strong. There's so much passion and trust that I'm sure all of your clients pick up on, which is huge in today's world. And so I wish you guys continued success always. And it was fun having you on the show. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for having us, John.
And to everybody who's listening, thanks so much. If Mickey or Brian can help you, reach out to them. Anything else you guys want to say in closing?
No, I think that's it.
Stay safe, everybody.